Panels, the most fundamental reason coming from the teams of government how they think that foreign content shouldn't opt in into domestic media is because they think the domestic content will be inherently die owing to the incompetitiveness coming from the domestic content, but never they give any clear of any comprehensive explanations and elaborations how with the non-existence of this foreign content is inherently make the local content or domestic content will be proliferate. In our case, we have proof you on regards to the thing, and we think that is most important thing to be proven in this debate. But moreover, before I go to my extension, which is I'm going to prove how even if the in worst scenario where where foreign content dominated the domestic media, we think that it's not going to be something to be regretted about. But first of all, let me try to engage with several cases coming from the teams of opposition government. First of all, they say that foreign content is unjustifiable to make a competitions with the domestic content is because they were privileged. Here's the thing. First of all, we think that if before the foreign content comes into the domestic media, they have succeeded to fulfill several characterizations of several prerequisites that has been standardized by government. Let's say, for example, first of all, they pay the tax or even higher tax for that thing. We think that this is something that is very good in the terms of how the government later then can also address these kinds of taxation in order that they can use them for the even proliferations of local media. And we think that is not something to be regretted about. But second of all, we think that there is a very strict kinds of barrier coming that this foreign media, that this foreign content has succeeded to prevent, which is a people distrust. We think that once they succeed to deal with this kinds of issue with people distrust, in which foreign content is finally trusted by the society, we think that it is we think that they have been fulfilled the prerequisite to be portrayed in the local media. But third of all, they bring the ideas in regards to the case of KPI, which is a censorship, ladies and gentlemen, precisely because we think that the censorship from the very first beginning exists. That's why we think that there are no any kinds of things to be there are no any reasons why we think that we need to hamper this foreign content, because once it proceed to finally succeed to fulfill the demand of censorship, it means that they have a positive content to begin with. They have some kinds of contents they can motivate and even give a more betterment towards the people. We think that is not something to be regretted about. But moreover, their side we think is more harmful once they help this foreign content to opt in into domestic media, because foreign media will not when they think that eventually the government of local media, local government has do some kinds of things to prevent this media to be watched by the society, we think that it's going to inherently stop them or at least disincentivize them to invest more of their foreign media. We think that is not something good to begin with. But moreover, they give also kinds of explanations about how they want to make local people aware of the importance of content of local media. How they say is that there are several cases where society is irrational, where they portray something only based on what they see, or based on the negativeness of VGA, for example, on how they were disincentivized to watch the bad graphics movie and neglecting the issues that it is not inherently portrayed that movie have negative storylines or negative contents inside of it. First of all, we see that this kinds of argument has been very dismissive toward the characterizations coming from the leaders of opposition, where we say that that there is a characterizations of consumer, there's a characterizations of watcher. What does that mean? It means that in the markets of media, the people has been comprised by a very variety of characteristics. Some of them very love to see the cartoon, for example, or love to see the cartoon because they love to see the storyline, or some of them loves cartoon because they love to see the graphics. Some of them loves music because they really love music and really loves the singer and any kinds of that thing. We think that these segmentations of media should become the kinds of solution, kinds of standardizations. Why we think that every kinds of media eventually have their own platform to sustain, because we think that limitations or any kinds of thing is not going to inherently change these kinds of preferences. So even if the foreign media is dominated the local or domestic foreign content has dominated domestic media, we think that the preferences of people, if they indeed from the very first beginning more prefer to see the local content is not going to be changed, because from as we have explained that inherently society has their own preferences in watching the media. But moreover, we see that it is even more harmful in their scenario, ladies and gentlemen, when they eventually halt these kinds of movie. We think that in these kinds of foreign content, there is something to learn. First of all, the local content of media which have bad graphics to begin with is going to be incentivized to make reparations, to fix the quality of their graphics, for example. That's why I believe let's try to engage with the case of Bollywood movie, for example, on how several movie with the bad graphics is very unpopular. But in the end of the day, because eventually that India has succeeded to make a movie with the good graphics. It shows it shows that they eventually have ability to change. This incentive to change is only happen once you see that you have a rival in market, and the best rival comes from the foreign media. That's we believe that this is something not to be regretted about. But let me try to engage to my extensions, where we think that even in war scenario where the foreign content dominated the local or domestic media, we think that it's going to be bad. First of all, we think that one of the most thing to be very fortunate about of these kinds of condition is that society will have something to see in regards towards the progressiveness of the perspective of media. Let's say, for example, I live in a very conservative country where my government in very conservative country, well, there are no any kinds of single value of progressiveness come into my country. We think that this foreign content, the foreign content, will give a counterbalance of these kinds. We think that we are going to have the preferences to see the progressive media, and finally we are going to have more exposure toward the other kinds of value that is prevented by our country. We don't think that is something to to be harmed, because from the very first beginning we cannot deny that even in a conservative country there are several layers of society who has been very progressive, who need more exposure toward the case of progressive. Once these kinds of foreign content is going to be limited, this is going to halt and even create more harmful conditions toward the society. But moreover, we think that this is a bad conditions if the government give a minimum quota, because it will create the issues of government to the society of how the government is very conservative or how the government is very dictatorship. Because we cannot deny that several societies don't want to be dictated by their government. That moment when the government regulates all the things, give a minimum quotas, don't give more affordability for this foreign content to opt into the local media, it will inherently the time where the government don't want to make their society to have the perspectives out of what government wants them to see. We think that this is the we have to engage back to the very first negative, functions of media, which is negatively talked by the society, that it will be changed. It will create the perspective. We think that it's very important to have the counterbalance perspective from the foreign content as well as the local content. That's why we believe that the motion falls. Thank you.